What's going on, everybody? So in this video, we are going to be covering what's going on in the NFT market, some major news when it comes to the hottest blue chips, and some major updates when it comes to the Parallax Academy. Right off the bat, we got to start with what's going on in the market sentiment. So pretty much nothing crazy is really happening. Everything's just kind of moving sideways. You can definitely see a lot of red when it comes to some of the smaller coins, but again, it's only like, 5%, 7%. So it's nothing too crazy and nothing out of the unusual. Ethereum kind of going down a little bit, all the way from, 1.7 to that 1.5-ish. So a little bit of a jump over there. And it could be that people are selling the news. It's really hard to say, like, what's going to happen. Are things going to go up? Are things going to go down? Of course, there's going to be a lot of other economic factors when it comes to the macro environment, like globally, S&P 500 and things like that, that do affect the crypto markets as well. So don't think that, things go up and down just because of the merge. There's so many different factors that, someone would have to really sit down and go through all of them, which is not really what this channel is about. Honestly, I don't really know what will happen. But overall, when I'm looking at the fear and greed index, things are a little fearful, definitely more fearful than it was yesterday. And again, this is just an algorithm throwing a number, so it doesn't necessarily mean this is like the definitive truth of what's going on in the market. For me, like, I am looking to buy certain blue chip projects as the price goes lower. Even if I bought some things now, I wouldn't be surprised if it went even lower from here, right? Because right now, I don't see a reason for why a lot of new people would come into the space when things are so grim. And I don't think we're at that accumulation phase quite yet where, everything's at a steep discount and that's the bottom. Of course, you have to like DCA and have a certain strategy. But right now, I would be very wary when it comes to blue chip projects in general. Again, that's not financial advice. That's just personal, what I'm doing. And I have purchased, some blue chip projects 2 weeks ago. Like, I bought like a CloneX, right? And the price went like 1.5 ETH lower than what I bought it from. So there definitely is like a dollar cost average strategy going on over there where, you don't really know. But right now, I feel like it's going to go lower. And by the way, if you want to get the latest updates on what I'm thinking about or the latest alpha, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Patrick Dang. Link is also in the description. Now, speaking of blue chip projects, the narrative that was going on over the past month was that after Doodles dropped these mystery boxes, they kind of went silent for like over a month, right? And everyone was like, this is a blue chip project. They have so many employees. Why aren't they communicating? And I also had that issue with them as well. I was like, what's going on here? And it seems like the real big news that, they were basically saving up was that they announced they have raised $54 million at a $704 million valuation, which is pretty huge, right? So I guess, they were probably in talks with a lot of the VCs and things like that to make sure that the deal was all set before they made any type of news. The vision of what they're trying to do has not changed for the most part, right? It's still that IP brand, making music, making toys, merchandise, being this family-friendly IP that can hopefully onboard a lot of Web2 people into Web3. So nothing really has changed from the vision standpoint. The only difference is that there are more VCs involved and more money involved, meaning they can hire more people, hire the best people because they have a lot of money to spend, and then they can really take a crack at trying to make this become the next Hello Kitty or the next whatever of Web3, right? Now, what's interesting to me is when we think about the fundraising round and the valuation of the company. So if you know anything about VC and venture capital and things like that, one question that you might be thinking is, why is this company worth, $700 million, right? There's like 10 to 20 employees working at Doodles right now. Some people might say like it's overpriced compared to the valuation of Bored Ape Yacht Club and like Moonbirds and stuff like that based on the floor price of the NFT. But then the floor price of an NFT doesn't necessarily determine the value of the entire company. I think those are separate things, right? NFTs are collectibles, not stocks. And then also the other question I have is like, how did they reach this valuation? Is it like they did, 10 or $12 million in sales from the mystery boxes, and then they use those numbers to pump up the valuation and say like, hey, we're really good at doing these drops and we just sold a bunch of like consumable products that people don't expect a return on investment. I don't know what those conversations look like. If I was a founder and I was trying to raise money, what I would personally do is like, first I would raise money before second NFT drop just to get the money going in. And then if the drop goes well, tell all the VCs like, hey, look at us. We're making so much money. This is why we're worth $700 million. This is why you should invest in us, right? I would probably use that successful sale during a bear market to increase the valuation of my company and then raise more money and then take that money and try to build something, right? So I think when it comes to valuation in tech, it's like really hard to say like what's worth what. Is it like multiple revenue? Is it based on potential earnings? There's so many different things. And as a consumer, right, we are all kind of consumers of this unless you're like owning equity in Doodles, because it's not very clear on how they reach that valuation. You have to really question like, why is it worth that, right? And I'm just saying that in general because there are going to be a lot of more VCs backed NFT companies and brands. Moonbirds, for example, Bored Ape, for example. Artifact was VC backed, but they were acquired by Nike, right? And what's the value of Artifact? Probably like $1 billion at this point, right? Azuki is the one that hasn't really made any major announcement when it comes to if they are VC backed or are they looking for VC funding, right? But because of the news and speculation that people have, and a lot of of people are raising money during this time. Most likely people are guessing that Azuki is going to have this crazy announcement where they're going to have like all the Asian VCs like backing them probably. So that definitely is a possibility that may move the needle on pricing. But then again, like during a macro bear market, everything kind of just goes down, right? So if you look at the price of Doodles, like, you know, there was a lot of volume, definitely 99 sales after the announcement of the VC backed funding. The price pumped a bit and then it just went back down to like 7 in terms of average price. So pretty much the same as what it was before the announcement, I suppose. I think like during a bull market, that kind of announcement would like blow the price up and that thing will probably go over like 10 ETH, right? But because of the bear market and it's like new money's not really coming in, but someone has to sell their NFT to buy a Doodle and things like that, or use their ETH that they've been stacking. That's why I feel like the price isn't as volatile as it was, you know, during a bear market, which is normal, right? Probably most of the blue chip projects are probably going to continue to be at a discount unless there's some kind of catalyst that will bring NFTs back and crypto back and things like that. And I think it will happen. It's just like, who knows when. In other news, talking about Artifact, since I did mention them earlier, one thing I didn't cover yet, and I'll cover it now, is that Artifact recently took a CloneX and they added some traits to it, kind of make it look like LeBron James, right? This kind of does look like LeBron James, except this one has a full head of hair. So that's pretty funny they did it that way. If you look at the history of this particular NFT, I'm guessing it was like some kind of rare one because it was sold for 8 months ago. And then it was Artifact bought it for 42 ETH, which is quite a bit. So whoever sold this definitely made a bag, but then they probably never knew that this was going to be the LeBron James one. So you can see the LBJ beard, chosen one crown. A lot of hints to show that LeBron will have some type of collaboration with Artifact sometime in the future, whether it's augmented shoe, special sneaker that maybe you can get a digital one and real one in real life. Serena Williams also has CloneX as well. It's not a custom one, but they definitely gave her one or she bought one, whatever the case is, she has one. And you know, there's a lot of celebrities under Nike, right? So imagine if like all of them had a CloneX, which wouldn't be too difficult to do. They don't have to make a custom one for every single person. That's a lot of endorsement, right? The other aspect is a lot of people are like flooding the project because they're like, NFTs are supposed to be immutable. Like you can't just like change the metadata and change the picture. I think there's arguments to that. Like some projects are very like on-chain. They're meaning that whatever's on the Ethereum, you can't change it. It's like that forever, right? And I believe like Moonbirds is trying to be on-chain and trying to put their art on-chain as well. And some people make the argument that if you can change it, then what's the whole point of like blockchain, right? It's like centralized then. I think CloneX never promised that they would never change anything. In fact, I think they actually even promised in their roadmap that their NFTs are adaptable and things like that. And yeah, you change the rarity of some things, like literally just change the rarity of one NFT. But I guess you can make the argument that what if they change too many things and the value of your NFT drops because your rarity of the thing that you bought drops as well. That's definitely an argument as well. But for me personally, based on what they're doing, I think it makes sense because actually in the end, this gives a lot more attention to CloneX in general. So that trade-off, in my opinion, is worth it for the community as a whole because you want LeBron James to be supporting it, right? Even if you have to change the metadata. And I think what they're doing is they're trying to put more traits on chain as a team. So from my understanding, they're going to be putting the DNAs on chain. So that's something you can't change. And I think they're going to put the Murakami drip trait on chain as well, because those will directly affect what kind of things you can forge in real life. I guess the important ones are going to put on chain and maybe the other ones will be more dynamic. And I'm guessing in the future, you're going to be able to change the clothes of your CloneX as well, and you buy different assets and put it on top. Every NFT project is different. I think as long as a project is clear and upfront on what their intention is, I think it's fine. If you want to be on chain, be on chain. If you want to be dynamic, but just be honest with your holders. And I think they kind of been honest since the get. Now, real quick, I want to talk about the Parallax Academy. So as you know, Parallax, we have a NFT project called the Parallax Genesis, and one of the major benefits of that is that we actually provide these masterclasses when it comes to launching and building your own NFTs. And a lot of it right now is being pulled from my personal experiences launching the Parallax Genesis. So for our next live class, which will be happening next week, I'm going to go over exactly how I did the art for the Parallax Genesis. Pretty much for me, I did the art direction for it. I chose all the traits, the colors, how it should look, silhouettes, proportion of the anime picture. And like, I have actually no experience doing anime, but I was able to figure it out on the spot, pretty much by myself without any mentors. But pretty much I'm going to review a lot of the secrets of how I was able to accomplish all of that in a short amount of time relative to my experience level, which is like literally zero experience, and how I put the color palettes together, how I find the references, how I chose certain clothes and stuff, what I try to do to make it timeless, how I found an artist in Japan to help me draw the things, even though he doesn't speak English somehow. How do we communicate? How do we do the layering, right? So there's a lot of questions I think people have when it comes to the art. I'm going to basically share with you everything I know when it comes to my experience doing it. So if you are someone who wants to start their own project, it definitely will be helpful if you are doing a project that is like a PFP and you're doing different traits. If you are, let's say, a collector of projects and you're trying to evaluate the quality of a project based on their art, I'm going to show you you certain things you can look at to tell the difference between what is like a Fiverr art or art you can find on Upwork compared to someone who's like real deal artist, right? Not to say like Upwork artists are not real deal, but there's definitely a separation in skill sets. I'm going to show you all those things, how to train your eye to see these things so that when you look at different projects in the future, you can be like, I remember Patrick said this thing and this is why it's low quality. This is why they didn't put too much effort into it. Or you might say like, oh wow, this is really good because of XYZ, right? I kind of want to give you a perspective so that you can look at these projects, make a decision for yourself to determine if something's low or high quality, because you don't want to buy in something just because everyone's buying in it. And if like everyone says, oh my God, that's good art, what if you don't think it is? I'm trying to show you how to objectively look at things. So if you're interested in those kind of things, make sure to check out the Parallax Genesis, because these courses are only available for our Genesis holders. So you have to have the NFT to join the live class, and we're going to have a recording of it. So we have a whole library of all our best content, which is only available for holders in our token gated library. So Parallax Genesis, check it out, link in the description if that interests you at all. Now, next project that we're going to talk about has been getting quite a lot of volume, and it's going to be Renga. So it's a project that recently minted. They're going to have 10,000 supply. So it seems like not everything is minted quite yet. It pumped all the way to like 8 Ethereum, 9 Ethereum, and now it's going back down to like 5 and going back up to 8 again. This project for me kind of just came out of nowhere, and I'm someone that follows like most of the anime projects, and it's just like, it was never on my radar, and it's suddenly just doing extremely well relative to the market. And I'm like, what's going on here? I'm not saying it's a good or bad project. I have no idea who the team is because they're all docs from my understanding. It seems like a few people are tweeting about them saying the art is really great. There's not too much Twitter engagement, right? It's just kind of like they're just posting art. Really, it's just a PFP, and it's like, that's kind of it. Actually, it's not very clear when you go on their website, you go on the vision as well. It's pretty vague, to be honest, right? Basically said they're going to do some storytelling, create different mediums, but it's not really clear like what they're trying to do, whether it's anime, game, whatever. So I'm surprised like it's pumping this much. And I think also it's like understanding, you know, where this pump is coming from, because it's questionable. It definitely is questionable. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know who's talking about it, and everyone I ask has no idea what's going on. So it's quite interesting to observe that during this market. So you always want to question why or who or what's going on, but I just kind of want to put it on your radar. And again, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying the art is ugly. I'm not trying to be fudding or saying anything negative. I'm just curious to understand where all the demand is coming from if I'm not really seeing it on like their Twitter and things like that, and based on people I talk to. So with that said, that's everything we got to cover for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and I will see you in the next one.